It is at this time of year that dinner conversations at the Jacobson household turn toward vacation. And in our case, it is the annual trip to the Finger Lakes, to the wine country. And while we have tasted some marvelous wines over the years, the trip is far more than just going to taste wines. Because each year there is a new experience. We learn something, we meet somebody, we experience the region in a new way. Whether it's learning a piece of history or being introduced to a winemaker or an owner, whether it's understanding the process of making wine in a different way, or learning about new grapes or some of the blends. It's about soils and growing. One of the most fascinating pieces that we learned this a number of years ago, was the transformation of that region that has happened in my lifetime. Growing up in Western New York, we didn't hear much about the wine industry at all, where now it is a major player in that part of the region. What happened to make that occur? Well, it really goes back to one gentleman. His name was Dr. Frank Constantine. One of the difficulties in growing grapes in that region is the climate and the soil. There were indigenous roots, but they didn't produce very good grapes. And attempts to introduce European grapes into that soil failed because they weren't hardy enough. What Dr. Frank was able to do was to graft European vines onto those indigenous roots that were strong, hardy, and deep into the soil. And this enabled those European roots to thrive because they weren't dependent just on themselves. They were now dependent upon those indigenous roots that were well grounded. And from them, they would receive the nutrients that they needed to survive. In much the same way, John talks about the vine and the branches in his gospel. Jesus is that indigenous taproot that was there from the beginning of creation. And through baptism, we are grafted onto that root, that we might receive all that we need to thrive. Like the image of the shepherd, God provides through Christ everything that we need in this life and in the life hereafter. That's a given. God will provide. The question is, what will we do with that which God has given to us? Will we thrive? Will we use those gifts and those things that God gives to reach out, to extend the vine into the world, both as church and as individual? Yeah. One of the issues facing the church today is that it has become closed in on itself, and that if it is to survive, it must branch out into the world in which it has been planted. For it is there it receives that which enables it to thrive, that enables it to exercise and spread the gifts, the talents, the good news, the love of Christ into the world. And as we do that, we grow and thrive. When we don't do it, we wither and perish. We atrophy. We die. You don't have to spend much time in a hospital or laid up sick to realize how fast our bodies deteriorate when we don't use the muscles. It is the same with the gifts that God has given to us. If we do not share that love, if we do not share the good news, if we do not reach out, we will atrophy and wither. And the vine dresser will come along and prune those branches until we can thrive again. Pruning is not fun, but it is necessary sometimes if we are to continue to grow and thrive. And as we do those things which God has called us to do here in this place where we live and work and play, we will encounter that which gives us life, and life abundant. And so we are invited to extend our branches, to go and to bear much fruit. And it shall be good fruit for the sake of the world.